So this play is by Itamar Moses, and Itamar is a Tony Award-winning playwright who wrote the musical The Band's Visit. But we knew him at Horizon before that because he was the writer of a musical comedy we did called Nobody Loves You. That was a hilarious musical comedy set on a dating reality show that we did both at Horizon and in Piedmont Park. Heidi McCurley directed it, and we were lucky enough to have Itamar, and his writing partner, Gabi Alter, here working on that musical. So we knew them before he won the Tony Award. And when we shut down in March, we decided that, well, it would be a great opportunity to get him. One great thing about Zoom is we can have all these people from all over the country join us without flying him here. So that is what we're trying to take advantage of here tonight. We were looking for a play we wanted to do by Itamar, and we chose this play, Completeness, because he actually had gone back to it. He wrote it a while ago, but he never felt like he was done with it. So he kept working on it. He finally had a production about 1.5 years ago where he felt like he was finished with it. And so we decided to do a production of this. I also personally love science and science plays. This is my chance to be able to do that. This play was commissioned by the Alfred P. Sloan Foundation originally, and the Alfred P. Sloan Foundation encourages leading playwrights to explore science themes and write plays featuring scientists as leading characters. And in this play, we meet two PhD students, Molly, a microbiologist, and Elliot, a computer scientist, who we meet in the computer lab where he woos her with science, of course. So tonight we have the director, the cast, and Amy with us for the show and post-show discussion, and Itamar will join us afterwards to meet you and take questions. I'm going to introduce that team right now in just a second, but before I do, we're going to do a little technical test so we make sure you have a good viewing experience tonight. So I'm going to let Amy take over. She's going to play a little trailer for you to test and make sure you can see and hear the video. So Amy, we're doing it now so we can troubleshoot any problems if anybody has anything. Amy, you want to, I'm going to introduce our guest. Then what we're going to do is we're going to view the video together. It lasts about 1:45 minutes. Then after that, we'll take a 5-minute break, and then we'll start our post-show talk, and we'll get Itamar in the room and go from there. So now we're going to introduce our artistic team. We're going to start with our director, Heidi McCurley, who's an artistic associate here at Horizon and has been with us for over 2 decades, directing all of our musicals, including the most recent musical, Once, which was the last thing to play here before we got closed down. We got the whole run of the play in before we had to close, which was a real thrill. So I'm going to call Heidi, come on forward, and I'm going to let you talk a little bit about the play and directing the play so that they can have your perspective. You need to turn your audio on, Heidi.
Hi. Hi, everyone. I'm Heidi McCurley, and we had a great time working on Completeness. We had a great cast, and Lisa asked me to talk a little about what it's like to direct on Zoom. I think the biggest thing about directing on Zoom is trying to expand the box, basically vertically, horizontally, and your depth in terms of your relationship to the camera. So we tried a lot of things. We experimented with opening up that box if we could. The other thing I think in directing and acting is we try to have laser sharp sort of intentions, and Zoom really allows us to kind of magnify that as actors. You know, it's very film-like in that respect, and we're able to have very nuanced kind of work happen. And so that was an adjustment for us. And then sort of the last thing with this particular script for us was to make, I'm going to call it science speak, easy for you to hear and to understand. I do believe this is the way these people speak, but it may not be the way we speak. And I wanted to make sure that it was clear and easy to follow, and help to build dramatic interest for you in these characters. So I would say with this piece, those were some of the particular things that we worked on.
Good. Anything you want to say about the play itself?
Oh, Itamar is just a brilliant writer. He understands the way people think and talk, and it's just a pleasure, to work on what he's written. I liked the focus in this play of two-person scenes. Like Lisa said, it was very conducive for Zoom. And I loved the ideas that are a part of it. This whole traveling salesman idea, we'll talk about that at the end. I don't want to give too much away, but it's an interesting notion to pull into modern relationships. So we found that interesting to talk about and work on.
Good. Great. Okay, I'm going to call up Nicole Palmietto now. Nicole, come on down. Nicole is our National New Play Network producer in residence. You'll see her around either virtually or in person, perhaps this year sometime. And she's been working on this piece with us as developing our partner science ATL. So you want to say something, Nicole?
Sure. We are thrilled to get to partner with Science ATL. They had some wonderful connections for us last night with scientists. And we're going to have 2 more sets of scientists next week, actually on Friday. Our Talkback panelists they're actually a married couple, a computer scientist and a microbiologist, just like the couple in our play. So it's been very exciting to learn about what's happening in the science world here in Atlanta and how that connects with our artistic lives.
Great. Thank you, Nicole. All right, I am going to have Chris Hecky come up. So Chris Hecky is one of our stars of the play here. He's playing Elliot, our computer scientist. So Chris, tell me, Chris has worked all over the country and is worked with us on our New South Young Playwrights Festival last couple of summers, and was fantastic. Chris, come up and tell me a little bit about your character and maybe something about what it was like working on Zoom.
Yeah, hi everyone. First of all, thank you so much. I can't believe that there's maybe 131, 32 participants on this. So thank you all so much for joining us on a Saturday night. I love you all for coming and supporting Horizon. Let's keep theater alive. So thank you so much. Yeah, it was a little bit about Elliot. I think we saw a lot of Itamar in Elliot, which was really, really fun. Itamar does such a lovely job of giving us a roadmap for where these people are, and I would be remiss to say if that also didn't come from both of my parents, who are mathematicians and engineers. So I have a lot to thank for them. I had some personal things to pull from, which was really special. And doing a play on Zoom, man, Heidi and Lisa made it so wonderful to do. It felt like being in a bit of an artistic incubator, because we were making discoveries about how to do things, and the cast was fantastic, and we were really collaborative about how do you handle, an intimacy scene, or handling of props and exchanging things, and that was really fun. So it was exciting and new and a little terrifying. So I feel a little nervous just to know what this is. We haven't gotten to see our work yet. Normally in a process you get that, but I'm delighted to have so many people share it, and I hope it's worthy of what Itamar wrote.
Great. Thank you so much. Yeah, that explains your facility with all that language. You will understand what I mean when you see it. Chris really has a lot of science to convey, and he does a fantastic job doing it. Okay, we have Naima Carter-Russell playing Molly, our microbiologist. Naima is a Susie Bass winner for her lead role in Memphis at Aurora Theater, among many other things. So Naima, come on up to the screen and tell us a little bit about your character and about what it was like working on this Zoom piece.
Hey everybody. Thank you. I'm going to just echo what Chris said. It is just so wonderful and refreshing to see so many people come out on a Saturday night. We thank you so much. It is really hard to not be able to do what we do as artists. And so it's just great to know that other people
make the heavy sound upstairs.
share that So Molly, I just loved playing her. She, there was a lot of language and acting is a muscle, you've got to use it. And so this was the first piece that I did on Zoom. I think that, probably the whole cast did on Zoom. So it was like, okay, how do I work my mouth now? How do I, what are the constraints of the box? It was just really interesting. And like Chris said, I mean, it was just an incubator because we were just figuring out, okay, how do I leave the scene? Do I turn my, do I stop the audio or stop the video, or how does that work out? But everybody was great. Amy was great. Lisa, Heidi, everybody was great, and just making us feel comfortable, just learning a whole new medium for performing the way that we do. So
great, fantastic. Okay, and finally, before the show, we have Shelley Delgado, who plays Lauren and Nell in this. And lovely Shelley was in The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime when we did it at Aurora most recently, and loved having her in the cast there. So Shelley, come on.
Hi, everyone. What a treat to see so many familiar faces and unfamiliar faces, and to share my Saturday night with you. I'm really excited. Yeah, I don't really have anything to say that is not a reiteration of what Chris and Naima said, but I will say that it was a treat to be working with Heidi and to be doing a show in which I had the opportunity to play two characters who are in very different places and very different headspaces in their lives right now. And how do we do that on Zoom? And there may be some costume surprises. There may be some, that's all I'm gonna say. But I'm happy to be here and I'm so excited to see all of you.
Right. I love that everybody's got their opening night looking gear on. It's great. Eric Little is our final actor in the play. He cannot join us before, but he's going to join us afterwards. He plays Don and Franklin in the play, and he was our Susie Award winner for the lead in Superior Donuts a while back, but he's also a director and professor at Clark Atlanta. My first question is, so Itamar, I know this was a Sloan Commission. Is that correct?
Yeah.
What inspired you? Did you have an idea before they approached you, or did you?
I did. I think that I think that's the reason I said yes to the commission. For anyone who doesn't know, the Sloan Commission is a part of the Sloan Foundation, and they give money to commission plays that are in some way about math and science. And Manhattan Theater Club has a program where they commission several playwrights a year, I think, using Sloan commissions. And I think it was probably back in 2005 or 2006, maybe that long ago, when I got offered one. And had I not had a science-related idea already, I think I would have said no, because the idea of taking that money and then being like, all right,
what are we going to do? What is there we can possibly do?
Yeah, but as it happened, I read about the traveling salesman problem in college, and it had sort of been stuck in my head as this metaphor that I'd been waiting to use. So when I got offered that commission, I was like, oh, here's an excuse to dig into that and see if there's a play there. So that was how it started. Yeah.
And what was compelling about the traveling salesman problem to you?
I initially literally just the name, because when I first learned about it, I didn't understand it. I was a humanities major in college, and I only took science classes to fulfill the bare minimum breadth requirements I needed for graduation.
Yeah.
One of those classes that I took was Electrical Engineering 101, and the traveling salesman problem came up as the way internet security works and barcodes work. It has to, that things are uncrackable unless you can find an efficient enough algorithm for trying all of these possibilities, right? So the traveling salesman problem is the reason you can't figure out a random number code that's 14 digits long. But I didn't really understand it, which is why I took the class pass fail. But but a couple of years later, the name stuck in my head, and I was reading about it again, and it just sounds so poetic, the idea of this lonely traveling salesman on the road trying to make a decision about where to go. And then something about that resonated with, the sort of lonely human search for love. And then the more I read about the problem, the more I was like, oh, this is actually a really deep metaphor. and yeah, so that was the process.
I've got a couple things coming up in the chat. Nicole, are you following along? I'm sort of seeing what this is.
I have a
What you wanted to pull up what's here because I'm sort of catching up with it.
Sure, absolutely. We have a question from Janhavi. I hope I'm saying your name right. To our actors, Eric and Chris, actually about their MFA programs and just the benefit of that. And the question is, I was wondering why you chose to get a second degree. I'm applying to MFA acting programs right now, so I always like to ask.
All right. Hello. Can you all hear me?
Yeah.
Hello. Who asked the question? I don't know. Anyway,
Do you want to call yourself forward and introduce
I mean,
yourself?
I just wanted to say the person's name, but if I don't have to, I would just want to address the person. Well, hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Good to meet you. Itamar, I want to say your name right, sir. MFA, for me, it was, my undergrad's in secondary education language arts, so I had a little bit of acting, but I didn't have as much training as I wanted. So when the opportunity came up, it just made sense to go get it. So I always tell, because I teach right now, I teach at Clark Atlanta, and I do the same thing. I tell my students it's, because some people say, wait to get your MFA or go directly to get your MFA. I always say it depends on the student. It depends on where you are in your training. Do you feel like you need to get it? Then go get it. If you feel like, no, I got enough training, I want to go out, then go out, and I just want to go out and start working, then do your thing. So for me, it just always depends. It was very beneficial for me. I went to LSU and I just enjoyed it. I was already working on a professional stage, getting some great training, working with professional actors, working with different directors. So it just helped me once I got out of grad school, I was already in the mindset and was already being challenged, already working professionally. So yeah, for me, it was just the timing and what was right for me at that moment.
Great.
Yeah, I would just say, agree with Eric. It's a case-by-case thing. The time was right for me too. It's a long, complicated answer of how I got there. Happy to discuss some other time, so feel free to hit me up. But I would echo what Mr. Little just said.
Thank you, Beth. Lisa, we have a couple other things in the chat.
Yeah.
Kathy says, I've been following this play since the first staged reading and the subsequent productions. Love it so much. Use the scenes in acting classes that I teach all the time. Love the revisions, though. And then another question from Benjamin.
I was going to ask this one myself if someone didn't bring it up. So go for it.
Says, Mr. Moses, I hope this isn't a weird question, but since we're looking at your living room, where do you keep your Tony Award?
This isn't my living room, but
not too bad.
Yeah, but I know I'm supposed to be cool and be like, oh, it's in a box in the back of my car.
No.
But the truth is, it's dead center on top of the tallest piece of furniture in my living room. But maybe it'll get demoted. Maybe that'll start to seem gauche after like another year or so. I don't know.
I don't think so.
But yeah, it's in the most obvious possible. I don't like wear it around my neck though, or like carry it to meetings and like put it on.
Did that's a question, Bob, on the Tony thing. Did the Tony Award change things for you in any significant way? Because you were already doing really well.
Yeah, I mean, it's when people ask that question, they usually mean it in like sort of a concrete career way. And the answer is it's hard to tell. The most obvious change was that for about a year, I got offered the book writing job on every musical, which I didn't want to do. Like I never wanted to write 50, and because most ideas for musicals are bad for one thing, but I got offered a lot of musicals that I said no to. It's the most obvious career change. The big impact, the most important long-term impact, I think, is psychological in a double-edged way. On the one hand, it quiets certain demons, like, oh, like that feeling of where you are in the race and seeing the person ahead of you and all those illusory things that get in your way and like make you be bitter instead of grateful and all that stuff. It was like a nice balm for some of those voices, but almost more importantly, the things that didn't change were important to note. It didn't really change how hard it is to write the next thing. It didn't really change, and also because The Band's Visit was a musical so collaborative, an adaptation, it wasn't a dead center bullseye in terms of my ego. Like it really felt like I won it for something that was a bunch of people had worked on together and made something greater than the sum of its parts. So there were a lot of important like character lessons in it for me. I also think I was 40 when it happened. I think if that kind of thing happens to you when you're 25, it's more likely to mess you up or change you in unpleasant ways. And I think I was old enough that I was able to sort of fit it into like this larger, more complicated narrative of an up and down career.
That's great. A great answer.
It's so great to have that connection, Itamar.
It's great to see you.
After working with you 20 years ago, and
yeah.
you haven't aged, you've youthened.
You're so kind.
But it's great to have for you to bring us that connection,
What else are we seeing in the chat there, Amy? I've seen a couple of, Nicole, a couple other things are coming up.
Well, there's a few things, but this one from Michael is actually a question that I was wondering too. So I'm going to put it first because I had it as well. Itamar, you talked about the traveling salesman problem. Where did your ideas about molecular biology come from?
That's a really good question because that was much harder because I began with the traveling salesman problem and I knew just on an instinctive structural level that Molly needed to have as specific a scientific focus, but it needed to complement the traveling salesman problem in the right thematic ways while also being real. And like the science being just as real. And I'm glad that I'm not on this panel with scientists who can explain what I got wrong. You'll have to tune in other nights.
Oh, they went into that yesterday.
But
we heard about that yesterday.
So I think I knew that I wanted it to be as like a hard science, as rigorous as science, but that I wanted it to be dealing with organic material because that felt like the right contrast for computer science. So I thought, okay, chemistry, biology, something like that. But I couldn't just like, now I'll read everything about chemistry and biology and pick the right balance. I had to so I went through a lot of actually wrong ideas and started writing scenes for Molly and things she was working on that didn't hold the right space. And eventually I didn't hit it until I had the Sloan Foundation set me up with a couple of molecular biologists at Columbia. And I just went for a drink with these two molecular biologists at Columbia and started peppering them with questions. And we went down dead ends and what about this and what about that? And as soon as one of them said the thing about protein-protein bonds, I was like, say more about that. And it was one of those things where my gut knew as soon as I heard it. And then I just sort of delved for more and more information from these professors until I had it. But it was I knew I would know it when I saw it, and it took a lot of casting my fishing rod around to sort of figure out, what to find it.
What else you got, Nicole?
Well, we have a few questions actually for the actors and for Heidi. First, I do want to say that all of the comments are saying how amazing all of the artists are. So I want to make sure that you all know that everyone thinks you're totally awesome. And I'm going to sort of summarize a few questions, but they mainly come around to what is it like working on a show in a virtual platform? We had someone ask about the virtual backgrounds and the actors. I mean, you were your own set decorators, your own scenic designers in a sense, and Heidi, you worked with them to set up the framing. What was that like? And if you had gotten to work on this show, actually perform it live with an audience, how would that have been different? And I think to add my own question as well, there's so much that comes from the energy that you receive from your acting partner in the room with you. And none of you got to work together in the room. You didn't even have your director in the room. How was that? So that was a lot of questions. Hope to hear from all of you on these, as well as where you all keep your Susie Awards. That was also very important.
I wanted to address the virtual background thoughts. I think Linda brought up that question. Although virtual backgrounds sometimes work, they're also kind of glitchy. We were trying to incorporate some movement, and when you move with a virtual background, it just screams that it's fake. And that did not seem appropriate for what we were trying to have happen. So yeah, I mean, it's funny if anybody watched that recent Princess Bride Zoom reading, you know, it was funny how they were trying to create backgrounds in their home. And it was even complicated because Eric had to move in the middle of the reading, and even changing places in the house, trying to get the lighting right, trying to have front light, trying to have a few mini costume changes in there as well. You know, a virtual background just did not feel right to us.
Heidi, I wasn't talking about trying to do scenes and such. I just thought the blank nothing was so good. I'd rather have just a wall that was white or blue like the one you had. I certainly wouldn't want some fake phony something.
Okay, I misunderstood you.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people use those.
I guess they could. But...
in readings and things, and because we were trying to kind of tip the hat to a environment, you know, that said academia in some way, we liked the books in the background and trying to make it feel a little more than just a blank wall. And not all of us have that in our home either. So,
Linda, I'm happy to accept some soft good donations on your behalf for my backgrounds. Thank you so much. I've lost some income this year, and that would be extremely helpful. Thank you.
And it was funny because Chris was stuck in
Fayetteville, Arkansas.
Yeah, in actor housing, and so that's all he had. It was like an efficiency. So yeah,
is there no way that the virtual thing with, you can't do the wall with Zoom? You can't just do a blank. I guess you, I don't know. It would do any of that. I just would love it to be blank. That's, I guess I see what you're saying, but I really, since we were imagining so much of this is in the acting, and you're asking us to go from room to room and all of that. That's why I liked it when it was the blue wall so much. That's just how I reacted. I thought the play was wonderful. I really did. I just enjoyed it. And I want to say hi to my house guest. I don't know if he remembers that.
I noticed in here somebody just brought up Nobody Loves You, which we did, and saying how much they enjoyed it elsewhere, not our production, because there's somebody, Kathy, who's seen it elsewhere. But what is happening with Nobody Loves You? Did you I think that was you. Going back a little bit, you reworked this play and you reworked Nobody Loves You.
Yeah.
I'm interested to tell people a little bit about your journey on this play. You know, like you wrote it and then you were away from it and went back to it.
Yeah.
And I have to tell you, I didn't catch this line until I watched it yesterday. The one about I left it alone until I worked on something else. Doesn't it always happen that way?
Yeah.
I just seen your interview about that, and I kept on, oh, there, he just said that. I just heard him say that in that last interview.
It's so funny because that line was in the play long before it became true about how I fixed the play.
Oh, how funny is that?
Yeah.
That is bizarre.
Because I guess it's a truism, but yeah. So Completeness and Nobody Loves You. Yeah. So like Kathy said, it was it first was in the PPF, Pacific Playwrights Festival at South Coast Rep. So they did a reading there, and then South Coast premiered it, and then it was at Playwrights Horizons off Broadway shortly after that. And it's just, I think
we're talking about Nobody Loves You now, right?
Oh no, I'm talking about Completeness.
Completeness. This is Completeness now, right? Okay.
And I think it's just an experience. It has to, feeling it's not done once it starts to get produced, I think has a lot to do with what happens when you watch something with an audience and what the audience teaches you. And it's not like, oh, you know, I have to make every moment crowd pleasing. It's more, they got on board with what you're doing. Like, you can feel like you've established some contract with the audience, between the audience and the play, and they're engaged, or they're on the train, right? And then you can feel in the room when that severs and when that breaks down. And if that happens at one performance in this place and at one performance in another scene, maybe it's something else. Maybe that audience was weird. Maybe, you know, this actor missed a beat. Maybe I hadn't crafted that setup properly. You know, you figure it out. But when you watch it over and over again, and you're like, we have the audience until here, and then I lose the audience, and then we kind of get them back here, and you have that experience again and again, you really start to understand that there's something. So that was the experience I had by the time the play closed off Broadway. And so, and when people would produce it after that, that would be my opportunity to try something else. So I wrote, you were alluding to this piece I wrote in American Theater Magazine about my years-long journey to work on this play more. And I just kept going to other productions and being like, here's a new version of this scene. Here's another version. Let's try this. And it wasn't until a couple of years ago when Theater Exile did it in Philly, that I finally felt like, okay, this is the final form of this play. And it did. I trying to understand why it took me that long. It had to do with having finally finished another play. And that kind of allowed me to see Completeness as its own thing that didn't need to say everything I wanted to say in the world, and just I could listen to what this play itself wanted to say. With Nobody Loves You, it premiered at the Globe. It had an off-Broadway production at Second Stage. You know, and getting a musical to Broadway involves like all kinds of factors that are out of your control. In that case, we had some of them. We got like some good reviews, but the sort of other factors of like who are your commercial producers, what real estate is available, what investors are interested in helping them move it, were the reviews good enough, like et cetera, et cetera. So after the second stage production of Nobody Loves You, Gabi Alter and I ended up sort of with the rights back. The producers tried to do stuff with it for a little while and then just gave us the show back. And it was a couple of years after that you guys did it at Horizon. And you remember, like, you contacted us and we were like, we would love for you to do this. How would you feel about us coming down and doing some more work on the show? And that was a great experience, because to get back in a room without any commercial producers or any sort of pressure of like, everything has to work perfectly and then we're gonna make the big move. It was really like a return to how it felt for Gabi and I to be writing the show in the first place, like alone in a room with a piano and no pressure. And I'm really happy with the changes we made for your production in Atlanta. And then the latest was that we have been sort of seeking new commercial producers, and we're like lining up, hopefully the next chain of events that would lead it to reemerging. And then I think we're close to scheduling a workshop towards that. And then the pandemic hit. So I think we would have been doing the next workshop of that show in May. And like so many things, it's on indefinite hold, and we'll see which of those comes back when this is all over.
That sucks. Yeah, that was great. I remember calling you. I've been calling you for years, going, "Is this play available? Is play available?" And I called you, and I think it was Gabi who said, "We just got the rights back. So, when do you want to do it?" And I went, "Soon."
Yeah,
so yeah, we're grateful to be able to do it. It was really fun. We had a blast taking out in the park too. What else we got, Nicole? Other things I missed or people wanted to know about?
Well, I wanted to shoot it back to the actors to see if they had any other things they wanted to share about the virtual acting experience.
Yes, virtual things.
If you do, feel free to call yourself on stage.
Shelley, you had to change costumes.
I did have to change costumes, and luckily my roommate has a really wild collection of wigs, so that helped me out. So his self-expression helped my self-expression, and that's how that worked out for this play. But yeah, I think, when we're all back and met, whenever that is, I think revisiting this play would be such a great thing, because there's so many opportunities for spatial awareness and not spatial awareness that we were not able to play with. That would be so very exciting to do. So that's what I have to say. Call Peyton McDaniel for all your wig needs.
Yeah, I liked watching them deal. One of the things that they don't know is that you guys had to turn, in order for this to work, they had to turn their video on and off, because this works by, you hide non-video participants. So the way they were off screen is they had to press their button to go off screen, and they had to press their button to come back on screen. So we had some button rehearsing, as if I recall correctly. Naima, you're smiling there, I see.
So wait, I want to ask a question, a follow-up.
Everything. It was just, I mean, we had to, like the button thing, but we also had to rehearse like which direction we went off camera, or which way we were actually looking on camera, because sometimes, if we were looking we're mirrored. So if we were looking to one side, it wouldn't look like we were looking at the actual person. And so it's like funny, I'm like watching my eyes and I'm like, am I actually looking at Chris or not looking at Chris? And that was another funny thing. I have never met Chris in real life. And Heidi and I, we know each other, but we have not worked together before. So it was just, we had just been home for weeks. It's just really strange to just all of a sudden, not only are we actors, but we are everything. We are lighting designers. We are costume, props, everything. I had like a little table with everything laid out, and then like that blue thing was like it's slime, I just stuck in a Tupperware dish. So we were getting really creative with all of the different things that we had to do and process.
That was funny that day where we talked about whether we could come up with that. And you're like, no, my kids have that. That's not a problem. I'll go make that prop right now.
Right.
So.
I look so forward to hearing this language, this terrific language in 3 dimensions on stage. It just really has so much energy. And
one thing with Zoom is you get this opportunity to do this table work, table work, screen work. We can't help but call it table work because we're theater people. But
yeah, right, absolutely.
Because you're not dealing so much with, a visual aesthetic in terms of creating stage pictures. We just really tore the script apart and really analyzed it quite a bit, and had the time given to us to be able to talk. We still only had 25 hours, to do it, which is, in theater terms, that's not a ton of time, not at all.
Yeah, a typical play would be like 140 to 160 hours if you're at Horizon anyway. Other places don't give you so much time, but we do it at Horizon.
No, they do it at Horizon. But still 25 hours on a play, that is so dense like this, with just layers and layers of interesting things for us to try to find. I'm just real proud of the work that the actors did. I think that's a lot of great work for a short amount of time. So bravo.
Yeah, as Kathy says, also listening is crucial on a Zoom play, especially with so many long monologues. Yeah, I think that it's Zoom is a little bit, it's almost like it's a little like a podcast. It's like a video podcast. It's an interesting different animal now that I've watched some of them, and watching what makes some better than others. Really great acting makes anything great, so that's what's amazing. I had a question for the actors. Where did you guys were, you may not know this, but they were on book. They were not memorized for this. Where did each of you keep your script when you were reading? I'm just curious if it was different or you all chose the same thing to do.
It was on the screen.
On the screen. And were you able to see the other people you were working with them when you were on the screen?
Yeah, you had to, I'm trying to remember, fellow actors can do it. And I've done another Zoom reading. Just in general, one of the hardest things somebody was asking, and I think Naima was saying it too, which that's funny. I didn't know that you and Chris never met. That is hilarious. You have to try to put it somewhere and then also try to still look like you're looking at the person. So that's challenging. But one of the most challenging things is, not being able to connect in the same space.
Yeah.
It's really different and it's really hard because we feed off each other's energy. And then of course you feed off the energy of for theater, we feed off the energy of the audience. So not having that is really interesting as well. And it's tough, but you just keep working and figuring it out.
Did you all have your scripts on screen right in front of you like that?
Yeah. Mine was like right, like the Zoom was on this side and my script was on this side.
Got it. Cool.
Yeah, same thing. As close to the camera as possible.
Yeah. Yeah, you did a great job in doing and creating the illusion of that. I thought it was really good.
Yeah, same for me. As close to the webcam as you, and trying to listen to your partner. So watch what they're doing, but then actually play to the little webcam when listening. That was maybe the tricky part because all the other actors, even ones I haven't met in person, Naima, fantastic, as you all know who watched tonight. So it was easy to pick up what they were doing, but then to try to take it to the little black dot, that was maybe the most frustrating part. But that's how camera works. So in that way, it was really fun to choreograph and work on that skill for a little bit.
Yeah, that's definitely its own skill set for sure. I have one question. Are there any other questions to address in the chat? I've got one more question for Itamar, and I'm going to also tell you that for the audience that's here, the Alliance did a lovely, Amanda Watkins, who's over at the Alliance now, and Itamar worked on Nobody Loves You in New York, and she had Itamar come and do one of their Alliance interviews last summer, and they did a really great hour-long interview with Itamar that she's given us. It's not up on their website yet, but she gave us the link, so we're going to put it in the chat, and we're going to send it to you in a thank you email tomorrow. So if you want to hear all about the journey, we have the entire journey of the band's visit, I think, in that interview, which is really great. But I thought you'd have a moment. You write for theater, you write for musicals, you write for television and film. I thought I'd have a moment of just where you talk about the difference between those things, and also why you keep writing theater.
That's a good question. One answer is that, well, first of all, the difference is theater. The difference also answers the question of why, because as a playwright, everything is my responsibility in terms of crafting this world and these characters and this text. And then, you have the collaborative process of bringing in the actors and the director and the designers to realize it. But the sort of the creative team, the script department is me, right? And that makes theater a place where I can do whatever sort of idiosyncratic things that I'm moved to do, follow my own artistic impulses. Also because theater is sort of this rarefied form, not that many people see it. It's a little bit off to the side of the mainstream culture. So there's kind of no reason to write plays other than to express what you really want to express. So there's all these things about theater that make it the place to do that. In television, you reach a much wider audience. That's really exciting. I enjoy being in a writer's room with other writers when it's well run and when I like the other writers. But when you're having that experience, it's wonderful. It's fun to be part of a team and have less of the pressure on you. So it's a nice break from having the level of responsibility you have as a playwright. It also pays better and gives you health care, which are not unimportant concerns.
Yeah, sort of important.
And then musicals, you know, I sort of fell into it half accidentally because I just ended up writing a couple with people I was friends with and wanted to make things with, and we had complementary skills in that way. And it's a really challenging form and another way to, it's a mixture where it has a lot of the attributes that theater has, but it also has the collaborative aspect of being like being in a TV writer's room. The creative team on the musical is me and the composer and the lyricist, if that's a different person, and the director and a choreographer and maybe a producer, if it's a creative producer and they're involved early. And all of you are figuring out basic things about what you're putting together in a way that's just not true if I'm writing a play. It's much more, you know, I suppose if you have like a theater company that devises work collectively, it works that way, but that's not how I work. So those are some of the differences, and yeah, I mean that kind of answers why I always come back to theater, because it's the place no one has to hire me, you know. Like if I want to, I suppose the same would be true if I wrote, you know, short stories and novels or poetry. It's one of those things where if nothing else is going on, me alone in a room can do that work, and I can't write a musical alone, and I can't make a TV show alone. You know, so I mean, I suppose I could now, like with my phone, probably, and two friends. I'm too old to have grown up thinking that that's true, so I have to like retrain myself to know that.
So I'm going to ask everybody during this pandemic, what has been going on for you artistically? It's probably like the last, because I know we're running out of time, but what is going on for you artistically? For Itamar now, are things coming out? Are you in New York now? Are you?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Are things coming out in New York in terms of what you're doing and moving?
I mean, theater is shut down basically for the foreseeable future. So I've done but which is why I love that things like this reading are happening. Yeah, some TV stuff I staffed on earlier this year is continuing to move forward, but actually production can't really happen yet either. That's only so there's stuff in the pipeline. Yeah, like I worked on a limited series about Hedy Lamarr that's supposed to shoot, but it was supposed to start shooting in August, you know, and they still haven't started. So, yeah, I mean, the weird thing is that things like development have cranked way up. Everyone wants you to be pitching ideas and like developing scripts, but nobody knows when anything can be produced. And it's also, I mean, there's so much with everything that's going on in the world now. It's sort of like there's this increasingly acute question of what's the best use of our time and energy, and you know, maybe figuring out what my next play isn't the most important question right now.
Right. Yeah, somebody said, when will theater come back in New York? Chris says 2021 sometime. Is that what you think? Sometime in 2021? Is that what you're...
I think probably summer 2021 is not an insane idea, but maybe. And when will it come back fully? Yeah, I don't know, but certainly not before next spring or summer.
What about other actors? What have you guys been doing with yourself during the pandemic, and what does life look like for you in terms of what I know some of you are teaching, some of you are doing stuff like that. Eric or Chris or anybody, Shelley?
Yeah, like you said, beyond, like I said, I did this Zoom reading. I did another Zoom reading a while ago. Yeah, teaching as well, so online, and you know, trying to stay busy with various things to see what's coming up. Yeah, you're just staying open, trying to work on personal projects as well. So just staying open to see what's going to come.
Anybody else? Naima?
Just what Eric said. I mean, we're just, you know, we're doing a lot of I'm doing a lot of Zoom readings, things like this, just trying to stay open to see what's next. I mean, I've got 2 kids at home.
That's what you're teaching.
No, I'm teaching, and I am super, especially with all of the social justice things that have gone on this summer. I was already reviewing picture books, but I have really like ramped that up. So I review picture books on Instagram. So I'm really, really passionate about that. So yeah.
Picture books for kids, I assume. Yes.
Yes. Picture books, diverse picture books that feature diverse audiences and diverse subject matter, and especially, feature little Black girls as the main characters.
So let us know when you find ones that you think should be adapted for the stage.
I have a running list right now. I have a running list.
Send them to me.
Yeah.
Cool. Who else
if
we got?
People are looking for recommendations. Can you post your Instagram handle in the chat for them to follow?
I would love to. You can follow me at Drama Mama Reads on Instagram.
Drama Mama Reads. I love that. That's great.
Put it in the chat.
Chris Hecky, you got the things going on?
Sure. Yeah. Thank God. Thank God for Horizon and for Itamar, because I will act a cereal box if left alone by myself. I will do Shakespeare monologues and run around the house, the neighborhood, walking, jogging, screaming, any piece that comes to mind or that I want to work on. Fortunately, there are things like this project that have been coming around. Some regional theaters are that have the budget to install cameras during quarantine are trying to get actors back in similar ways that some professional sports have put their participants in a bubble. And so there are theaters that are reaching out and saying, hey, if we bring you in a month ahead of time and give you constant testing, would you be willing to kind of go into a bit of a bubble to perform? So thankfully some of those things are lining up. And as Eric and Naima and I imagine Shelley will also say, personal projects, doing as much writing, the things that Itamar mentioned you can do alone when you try to create your own work. So writing, getting people to say, hey, will you read this thing? Will you get some actor friends together and do what you can to stay sharp?
Are you going in a bubble somewhere?
TBD.
TBD.
Depending on negotiations.
Got it. Shelley, what about you?
A lot of similar stuff to everybody else. I am a teaching artist. I actually got done teaching 3rd through 5th grade this morning. We're putting on our own version of Pinocchio, as our playwriting class is doing. And just keeping busy, writing myself. I recently got back on a road trip where I went to a bunch of national parks and camped out by myself. So that was a lot of fun. And I hiked a little bit of the Appalachians. So I'm doing weird things to bide my time. That's where I've been.
Heidi, I know you're teaching and all kinds of other stuff.
Yeah, teaching hybrid, and been working on a reboot of the theater company that I was ran 18 years ago. So almost 2 decades, but Solstice rep coming back, and we're going to do a 3-play rep later in October.
Great. And we are at Horizon. We are going to, Heidi's going to be, we did a play called Love M by Kalinda Ross about two mothers and sons during the early years of the AIDS crisis that we're going to do a reading of. And the big project that Nicole and I are working on is we're working on a Ghosts of Little 5 Points interactive Zoom play written by 4 co-writers. Our first time doing a writer's room with to create this crazy piece with Gina Rakicki, who's a really funny woman who's going to be kind of our medium host, and a bunch of recorded fake ghosts of Little 5 Points. So we've got some of the writing, and it's really funny and topical. So we're excited. And Heidi's just posted Solstice Rep, so we can be a watch. We'll definitely be promoting Heidi's stuff. She does the classics at Solstice. We do contemporary, so we'll be promoting her stuff. Anyway, so Itamar, anything we should be looking out for from you that you've been writing that we should look for in the future?
I don't, I mean, I hope so.
I hope so.
I hope so. Like, I have some new plays that might happen someday, but probably not in the next year and a half. And, there's a regional theater that is doing something similar to the what you were just describing, though different, but like commissioning monologues, site-specific monologues for audio. So like you write a monologue about a specific space and an audience member will go individually and listen to the monologue.
Right.
So I wrote something like that for Berkeley Rep.
Cool.
So if you're happy to be in Berkeley, but I don't know, when that's good. But so things like that, I don't know, but I'm not sure.
What's the last television show you were writing on?
Oh, the Hedy Lamarr thing,
right? So
but it hasn't even started shooting. So
yeah, so whenever, yeah. Cool. All right. Well, this has been a long time. Thank you, everybody, for being with us tonight. Amy posted that link in the chat if you want to hear more. Itamar had that wonderful interview with he and Amanda, and we will stay tuned. If you want to know what's coming up next for us, look at our emails. I did send out a robocall this time because I know some people don't read their emails, so I'll send out another robocall when we have things going on. And I think Amy's going to post in the chat our donate link. We are going to be almost fully supportive of donations for the next period of time. So if you liked what you see tonight, you want to consider making a donation, we hope you'll consider it. And if you like the show, please tell people about it. Next weekend, you can do what we did tonight, live with two scientists on Friday and Saturday nights, or people can just go on demand and get the show to watch. And you also have access to that if you missed something, you want to go back and watch the show. So please do and do that. And we appreciate the audience being here, and we hope to see you sometime soon in person for Horizon. We're hoping it will be March, but until then, we'll be doing things virtually. So everyone have a great night. Amy's going to post our donation link and give us a little music to go out on, and we appreciate everybody. We love you.
Great to see you, Itamar.
Good to see you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.